Hello everyone and welcome back to yet another video of business economics macro. Now we are studying unit 2. Like in the last video in first part, we understood different concepts like national income, NNP, GNP, GDP, right? So in this video, we'll understand the next part of unit 2, that is how to measure a national income, right? So now I'll share my presentation with you all. Yes. So, as you all know, Patil, BBA, CA, Arts, Commerce and Science College. So, to continue to the second part of it is the measurement of national income methods and national income. We all know is the value of the aggregate output of the different sectors during a certain time period, right? Like it is a flow of goods and services produced in an economy in a particular year. Thus, the measurement of national income becomes very important, right? So there are three ways of measuring the national income of a country, and they are from the income side, the output side, and the expenditure side. Thus, we can classify these perspectives into the following methods of measurement of national income. That is the product method, the income method, and the expenditure method. Let's move ahead with the first method of measuring national income. Now, under this method, we add the values of output produced or services rendered by the different sectors of the economy during the year in order to calculate the national income. Like in this method, we include only the value added by each firm in the production process in the output figure. Hence, we use the value added method. The value added output of all the sectors of the economy is the GNP at factor cost. So, however, this method is unscientific as it adds the value of only those goods and services that are sold in the market or are available for sale in the market, right? So, this is about the product method. The next one is income method. Under this method, we add all the income from employment and ownership of asset before taxation received from all the production activities in an economy. Thus, it is also the factor income method. We also need to understand the undistributed profits of the private sector and the trading surplus of the public sector corporations. However, we need to exclude items not arising from productive activities such as sickness benefits, interest on the national debt, etc. So this is all about your income method. The next is expenditure method. Now this method measures the total domestic expenditure of the economy. It consists of two elements, consumption expenditure and investment expenditure. Now consumption expenditure includes consumption expenditure of the household sector on goods and services and consumption outlays of the business sector and public authorities. Whereas the investment expenditure refers to the expenditure on the making of fixed capital such as plant, machinery, buildings, right? These are the methods of measuring national income. We saw three methods. Now, what are the difficulties in the measurement of national income? So following are the difficulties like the conceptual difficulties and the statistical difficulties. Now, what does the conceptual difficulty means? It is difficult to calculate the value of some of the items, right? Such as services rendered for free goods for free and goods that are to be sold but are used for self-consumption. So it's very difficult to calculate the value of these. And sometimes it also becomes difficult to make a clear distinction between primary, intermediate and final goods. So what price to choose to determine the monetary value of the national product is always a difficult question. So whether to include the income of the foreign companies in the national income or not, because they emit a major part of their income outside India. So these are all the conceptual difficulties. Now, what are statistical difficulties? Like in case of changes in the price level, we need to use the index numbers, which have their own inherent limitations. So statistical figures are not always accurate as they are based on sample surveys, and also all data are not often available. So all the countries have different methods of estimating national income. Thus, it is not easily comparable. So these are all difficulties in measuring the national income. Now, another concept in this particular unit is a circular flow of income, the two-sector model. Let us understand the two-sector model. Now, in front of you, you can see a two-sector model. So, economy is divided into two sectors, that is production or business sector and household or consumption sector. Now, what is the meaning of production sector? Is a sector which produces goods and services. The process of production is a continuous process, and we all know factors of production such as land, labor, capital, entrepreneurship are combined together for the production of goods and services. So production sector supplies what? Goods and services to household sectors. So household sector is what? The supply of factors of production come from from household sector. These factors offers their services to the producers, who in return produce goods and services and make payments as rewards in the form of rent, wages, interest, and profits to these factors of production that come from household. For example, if you're working in a company, you are coming from a household and going to the company, contributing in the production firm is paying you the salary as the benefit. So this is how it works, right? So the household spends this money, and in return, now the goods and services produced by the production sector is used by the household sector, and they spend money on these goods and services produced by the producers. Thus, income or money first flows production to the household in the form of factor payments, wages, salaries, and then from household to the production in the form of consumption expenditure, purchasing of goods and services. This is how it flows. So this is called circular flow. So the income are continued to flow in the circular way. So it is called circular flow of income, right? Now in this diagram, you'll understand it more clearly. What I said, like for example, what we said, that factor services. See, the factor services goes from household to producers. See the arrow? It's going to producers. In that case, producers pays to the factors of production, salaries, wages, whatever, interest, right? And the goods are produced. Once the goods and services are produced, they are sold to the households, and household in return pay for goods and services produced by the producers. So this is how a circular flow of money happens. This is called a circular flow of diagram. Understood? Now this is two sector model with saving. So how saving happens? The same diagram over there, only in arrow is increased of borrowings and savings. That means capital market is added over here. That households save money in the capital market. The capital market gives money to the producers. They borrow from the capital market. In return, sometimes producers save money in the capital market, and households borrow money from the capital market. So this is how the saving and borrowing also in the form of a circular diagram. Understood? So the same diagram, I just added an arrow of savings and borrowings. So you should see the arrows. Arrows are important where it ends, okay? The point of the arrow is very important. So when you are pointing out the arrow for factor services, you start from household and point out to producers, right? And we are drawing for a factor payment, you should start from producers and point out to household, because the wages are paid to households. So same way, payment of goods and services will go to producers, and goods and services will sold to households. So arrow is very important to keep in mind when you draw a diagram. Okay, so drawing a diagram in the exam is very important. So in the previous model, without saving, it is assumed that household sector and firms do not save at all. But in actual practice, it does not happen. So households save some part of their income for various reasons, like precautionary reasons, transactionary reasons, or speculative reasons, whatever it can be. So similarly, firms also save some of their receipts for reasons like expansion of their business. So all the banking institutions, insurance company, financial houses taken together constitute capital market in the middle, as I've shown, of the economy. So from capital market, these savings flow to firms as loans for investment, and of course to the household as a borrowing. Understood? So this is how it's a circular flow of income, two sector model, without saving and with saving. Okay, drawing a diagram is very important to add up to your marks. Now The next topic in this particular unit is withdrawals and injections. In reality, however, there are leakages from and additions to a circular flow of income and expenditure. The leakages and additions are also called withdrawals and injections respectively. Okay. So withdrawal is what? Is the amount that is set aside by the household, us, and the firms, and is not spent on the domestically produced goods and services over a period of time. For example, like a household set aside a part of income from old age or against a loss of job for future education of children, right? Marriage of a daughter. So saving is a withdrawal. Saving is a withdrawal. So when savings are invested, they take a form of injections. So firms may also withhold a part of the total receipt and may not return it to the circular flow in the form of factor payments in anticipation of depression and all. So such withdrawals reduce the size of circular flow. So savings is a withdrawal, you understood? And when savings are invested, they are called injections. You understood the concept? The amount that is spent by the household and the firms in addition to their income generated within the regular economy is an injection, right? So injections by the household may be in the form of spending inherent savings or the hoardings. So firm can inject money, by spending their retained earnings or borrowings from outside. Injections increases the size of circular flow. Understood? So this is all about the second unit. You say your second unit ends, and in the next video, I'll be taking your third unit, right? So I hope you are checking out the videos, watching the videos, and studying, making notes. Okay. Of course, I have a request of sharing a PPT, so I'll share the PPT on your groups. No worries. So see you all in the next video. Till then, take care. Thank you.